Okay, again, welcome and thanks for coming. Before we get too deeply into the topic, I want to remind you of our fundamental philosophy. It is never what markets and economies do that makes you successful. It is what you do, and sometimes more importantly, don't do, that makes you financially successful. Women face specific financial challenges, there's no doubt, both in terms of things they can control, like choosing to be caregivers, and things they can't control, for example, equal pay for equal work. But in the end, even these can be overcome if we just do the right things. Anyone can follow a set of simple steps and become both more successful financially and, we believe, happier. It takes patience and discipline more than it's going to take smarts. It's our belief that anyone can make it. As a quick reminder, this is general information and education only. Everyone's situation is different, so please don't think of this as specific recommendations. Think about what you learn, and before you act, ask some questions to get more specific about your situation. Most financial decisions involve trade-offs, and all investing involves risk. What we're trying to do today is just get you set on a solid foundation, get you a little bit of information and education so that when you do start, you can stick with it. It's going to always be that plan you believe in and stick with that's going to work for you. As we get going, stay engaged, take some notes, write any questions you have down, and then ask them at the end, which we're going to take questions if we have some time. And then if we don't have time, please don't hesitate to ask your questions via social media channels when it's all over. And I'll either answer them directly in the same vannel, we'll answer it via one of our Mindful Money Minutes in the videos, or we'll respond to you directly via an email. So welcome to Taking Control, Women and Money. Again, I'm Jonathan Dio. I'm the founder of Dio Wealth Management, the Happiness Dividend blog, and the Mindful Money Toolbox. And I'm glad to be here today talking about the specific issues that face women and money. For the last 5 years, we've hosted an International Women's Day event in Berkeley, California, that highlights an organization concerned with one or more of these issues, and I'm happy to finally be talking about them more globally today. We sent an email that had a link to the worksheets for today's webinar. If you haven't already done so, you should go to happinessdividend.com, click on the Mindful Money Toolbox, and look for the Real Life Series Women and Money worksheets, because we're going to use them in one or two places today. They're a little bit less involved than our last worksheets, but they're still going to be valuable as we go through the presentation. All right, today's webinar is entitled Women and Money, Taking Charge of Your Financial Future. Together, we're going to take a look at some of the unique financial challenges women often face, and then some of the specific steps you can take to take charge of your future. At the end of the presentation, we're going to be answering any questions you may have, so let's just dig right in. In the past, women may have taken a less active role in financial decision-making for a variety of reasons. But today, with more and more women than ever participating and being responsible for their own financial well-being, and sometimes even the financial well-being of their entire families, it's critical that women know how to save, invest, and plan for the future. The good news is that women have never been in a better position to achieve financial security for themselves and for their families. According to the U.S. Department of Labor and the National Women's Business Council, women represent almost half the workforce. The percentage of household incomes earned by women has been steadily increasing for decades. The number of women-owned businesses is growing, and women now earn the majority of all bachelor's, master's, and PhD degrees. The bottom line is that women's economic clout is growing, and going forward, it's likely to continue to grow. But on the road to financial security, women often face unique challenges that their male counterparts don't. We're going to look at what some of these key differences are. Perhaps most obviously, women have longer life expectancies. But at the same time, women generally earn less income and end up with less savings. They're more likely to take career breaks, often for caregiving, and women often invest too conservatively, or let's just call it more conservatively, than men. We're going to look at each of these challenges, their consequences, in more detail in the next few slides, and then we're going to look at a few things we can do to improve upon the situation. The first challenge is that women simply have longer life expectancies. According to the most recent statistics, women live an average of 4.8 years longer than men. Some might say this means women are fortunate, but a longer life expectancy has several financial consequences. Women are likely to spend more years in retirement and will need to stretch their retirement dollars further. Quick note here, according to the Census Bureau, we're not good here, as women are more likely to end up in poverty. Women are more likely to need some type of long-term care as they age, and their partners actually predecease them, so there's no one there to take care of them. So they may have to face some of their health care needs alone. And married women are statistically likely to outlive their husbands, which means they'll probably have sole responsibility for financial decisions and final say on the disposition of marital assets. The irony is that while women need their savings to last longer, they're typically confronted with other realities that make it harder to accumulate enough savings and amass sufficient income in later years, which brings us to challenge number 2. Very often, women earn less than men. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, women who work full-time earn only 81% on average of what men earn. This is for the same job. There are other studies that place this number even lower. This wage gap has serious follow-on consequences. Specifically, it can impact overall savings. It can impact future Social Security retirement benefits. It can impact pension benefits, if you're lucky enough to have one. It also means women are more vulnerable to unexpected economic obstacles such as job loss, divorce, single parenting, illness, or the loss of a spouse. Challenge number 3, both research and history suggest that women are more likely to take time out of the workforce to raise children and or care for aging parents. Sometimes this is by choice. Sometimes it isn't. I'm looking at my 11-year-old son and my 8-year-old daughter. I know not a statistically significant sample size, but I absolutely know that 30 years from now, if my wife or I need help, it will be my daughter who comes to the rescue. It's simply part of her character to care for people. And if she does have to care for my wife or I, moving in and out of the workforce will have several significant financial implications for her. First, she's going to lose income and employer benefits for a period, like retirement benefits and health insurance. And this lost income means less savings. Second, her reduced income will result in lower Social Security retirement benefits for the rest of her life. And this is because what you get at retirement from Social Security is based on the number of years you've worked and the amount you've earned. Third, she's going to be more economically vulnerable in the event of her own divorce or her own or her spouse's job loss. Fourth, and most of us have experienced this, it's often even more difficult finding a job or a comparable job in terms of pay and benefits when you re-enter the workforce after not being there when you're caring for an ailing spouse or a child or a parent. Finally, even when women do attempt to stay in the workforce, they're much more likely to need flexible work schedules to meet their primary caregiving responsibilities, which can definitely impact their salary and their long-term career advancement. Means they're going to earn less long-term. In challenge number 4, women tend to invest more, possibly too conservatively, to meet their financial objectives. Now, whether this is due to the fact that women aren't aware of other investment options, or because they're generally more risk-averse, the result of investing too conservatively over a long period of time is the following: an inadequate retirement nest egg, and this leads to a loss of purchasing power due to inflation. Just a quick refresher, inflation refers to the increase in the price of goods and services over time. For example, in 1950, a gallon of milk cost 84 cents. In 1970, it was $1.35. 1990, it was $2.78. And today, a gallon of milk costs about $3.75. That's not even organic milk. It's easy to see how your purchasing power will decline if your savings don't keep up with inflation. The bottom line is if there's no risk at all in your portfolios, there's no chance of reward. Our financial system is pretty much built on the risk-reward model. And our industry, which mostly looks like me but older, does a pretty poor job of educating women on the importance of including equities, stocks, shares of the great companies in the U.S. and the world in their portfolios. Everyone, women included, needs to have some equity or business risk in their portfolios. Keep in mind, however, that all investing involves risk. That's what we're talking about, including the potential loss of principal. And there can be no guarantee that any investing strategy is going to be successful. This is why that education is so important and why women need to seek it out. This being said, and before we go on, I want to mention that there is no one-size-fits-all here. That is, not all women are going to face all of these challenges, and not all women need to invest, hyper aggressively or should invest conservatively. Every single person is unique. Obviously, there are many different stages in life and characteristics that define women: single, married, widowed, employee, small business owner, breadwinner, stay-at-home mom, empty nester, retired, knowledgeable investor, beginning investor, and so on. I'm not trying to pigeonhole anyone here. I'm looking at averages and noting some potential pitfalls. This being said, statistically speaking, a majority of women are likely to face at least some of these challenges I've noted. That's what the averages say. So it's important for women to be aware of them as they move forward financially, regardless of the life stage they're in. If nothing else, knowing what you face, I hope, will help you make better decisions and get to better outcomes. Now, what are some of the things women can do to take responsibility for their financial well-being? We're going to look at 6 steps. First, take control of your money. Second, become a more knowledgeable investor. Third, advocate for yourself in the workplace. Fourth, plan for retirement. Fifth, protect your income and assets. And sixth, create an estate plan. This is your legacy plan. We're going to look at each one of these areas in a little bit more detail. Okay, take control of your money. What does this mean exactly? First and foremost, it means no matter what life stage you're in, realizing that you can take responsibility for your financial well-being. This means knowing what your cash flow is, what you have coming in every month, and what you have going out. Some people choose personal finance software to keep track of everything. Others prefer a good old pen and paper. Next, it means establishing a positive cash flow. You do this by trying to earn more, budgeting, managing debt wisely, and living within your means. Even in households where one spouse handles most of the bill-paying responsibilities or maybe they even earn most of the income, the other spouse should be involved in budgeting and should know what outstanding debts there are and how quickly those debts are being paid off. I'm currently working with a woman who is going through a divorce mediation, and her big challenge is that she does not know what they have, has never known what they have. She's always trusted her husband to take care of it, and he just up and left one day and took all the data with him. Don't let this happen to you. Create an emergency fund. Part of budgeting is establishing an emergency fund so that you'll have money readily available to meet unexpected expenses. Without a financial cushion, you may have to use credit cards with high interest rates to meet sudden cash needs or liquidate investments at inopportune times. And speaking of credit cards, you're going to want to establish and maintain good credit for yourself because your credit score will determine the interest rate you're going to receive when you borrow money. How do you maintain good credit? Well, pay your bills on time. Don't carry too many credit cards. Don't allow someone else to open credit cards in your name. Everyone is entitled to a free copy of their credit report each year from the 3 main credit reporting agencies. It's a good idea to review your report periodically for accuracy. Next, set clear financial goals. Again, if you're married, this should be a team effort. Short-term goals could include, making sure your cash reserve is adequately funded, or it could mean, paying off outstanding credit card debt. And some long-term goals might be, saving for a new home, saving for retirement, or, putting your kids through college. Once you've done all these things, you're ready to start saving and investing your money, which brings us to step 2. Which is becoming a more knowledgeable investor. Some of you here today may have handled your family's finances all along, while others may be new entirely to the world of investing. No matter what your level of expertise, there's always room to learn more and adjust your plan based on your current circumstances. Because most women will end up being solely responsible for their own financial well-being at some point in their lives, it's critical that you have a sound understanding of the investment world and you have the confidence then to make appropriate investing decisions. Determining appropriate investment strategies isn't an exact science, but there are some steps you can take to help you get started. If you're a beginning investor, start by getting some basic information. You're going to want to learn some simple investing terms, concepts, types of investments, such as the difference between a stock and a bond and a mutual fund, asset allocation, diversification, cash equivalents, dollar cost averaging, and the risk versus return dynamic. Take small steps and learn as you go. You don't have to do everything at once. This is really what the Happiness Dividend Engage membership is all about. Easy, bite-sized bits of information to slowly and consistently improve your knowledge about handling your personal finances. Don't postpone getting started. The longer you wait, the fewer options you're going to have. And never be afraid to ask questions. Most people don't understand this stuff. You just have to be willing to admit it. Or, if you're a more experienced investor, just make sure your portfolio is a reflection of your plan. It's in line with your investing goals, your time horizon, and your risk tolerance. Definitely manage your risk. Yes, you want to have great returns, but you also need to understand the risks you're taking to get them. Understand what you own and what role each investment plays in your portfolio. And, sort of as an add-on, definitely consider the impact of taxes, fees, trading costs, and inflation. If you've amassed substantial assets, you might benefit from an expert who might help you in the areas of tax planning, estate planning, and asset protection. And then rebalance, by which I mean simply to make ongoing adjustments as needed to reflect your circumstances and the changes in your portfolio. And this is so important. No one can predict the future, so we've got to expect the unexpected. Have a game plan to avoid knee-jerk reactions in volatile markets. You're not going to be right with every investment. No one is. But you don't want to be jumping ship on certain investments just because that's what everyone else is doing or that's what the media is talking about. Becoming a more knowledgeable investor includes other things too. It means being willing to admit mistakes, deal with them, and move on. There's a saying, good investors know how to take profits. Great investors know how to take losses. If an investment isn't working, sometimes it's better to cut your losses and redeploy your capital elsewhere than hang on waiting for a turnaround that may never come. Go ahead, be risk averse, but do it in the right way. While investing conservatively can be a good strategy at times, for longer term goals like retirement, it can be a liability. If you're investing far too conservatively than is appropriate for your goals and circumstances, you may find that you have less money than you had hoped for at the end. Make the most of the years you have ahead of you to grow wealth. If you're married, make sure both spouses know the account numbers, passwords, and online access information for all the investments and loan accounts. Sometimes one spouse assumes primary responsibility for investment decisions, whether by choice, by habit, by desire, and it's important for the other partner to know how to access these accounts and be able to handle bills and investment decisions if the first spouse is unable to do so. I can't state this strongly enough. Even if it's not your natural tendency, you have to stay involved with your family finances. And I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, as women are much better at asking for directions than men, but it bears saying that being a good investor doesn't mean you have to do everything yourself. Recognize when you need help. A financial professional can help you create an appropriate investment strategy, select specific investments, and make adjustments as necessary if you're simply not comfortable doing it yourself. Now, I really want to switch subjects a bit and talk about step number 3. Advocating for yourself in the workplace. This is important because in order to take steps towards financial security, you need a source of income. For many women, that income comes from their jobs. So what can women do to maximize their potential income? Whenever possible, negotiate your starting salary for 2 reasons. First, more money now means more money to potentially save and invest now. And, this is important, a higher starting point when we're figuring future raises. Okay? And second, your salary is the foundation on which all employee benefits are built. So for example, the percentage amount that you can contribute to your 401k plan or the death benefit you receive from an employer life insurance policy, these depend on your salary. 10% of $70,000 contributed to your 401k plan is better than 10% of $60,000, which is better than 10% of $50,000. Over many years, these amounts add up. Now, negotiating your starting salary doesn't mean you're going to get what you want. Some employers can't or won't negotiate at all. But you should be aware of the important role your starting salary plays in your overall financial picture, and you shouldn't be afraid to try to raise the bar. Don't be shy here. If you're good at what you do and are important to your employer, they need you in the role and want you to be happy. There are many websites and articles that offer tips on effective negotiating techniques. Read them before every review and don't be afraid to ask for more. As women move forward in a job, they need to make sure that they're getting paid what they're worth. This can be a bit tricky since it's not typical for employees to share salary information, but by looking at career and salary websites, you should be able to get an idea of what someone in your field earns with the same level of experience, education, and responsibility. Ideally, women should do this research when they're negotiating or before they're negotiating that starting salary. And then up your game. Don't be afraid to emphasize your work accomplishments, take on challenging assignments, and ask for raises and promotions when they're warranted. Typically, and this is general, but many women are more likely to remain silent and wait for others to notice their hard work. And sometimes they wait, and they wait, and they wait. Have confidence in your abilities, be proactive, and put yourself in the mix. And finally, if possible, don't leave the workforce. Instead, request job flexibility. If it means being able to stay in the workforce while raising a family, let's look at this last point in a little bit of detail. This term, work-life balance, has become sort of an HR buzzword, but the fact is, for many women, actually for many men as well, many people, job flexibility is a critical component of their overall package. This can mean telecommuting, flexible hours, for example, working 7 to 3 instead of 9 to 5. It can even mean part-time work. The reality is that children come along and far fewer women than men have stay-at-home spouses, or spouses who want to request flexible schedules to help take care of children and home responsibilities on a daily basis. For many women, leaving the workforce entirely isn't an option for financial reasons. Their partners may not earn enough to support the family, or they may be out of work. Women might have their own debts, like student loans, to repay, or women may be living on their own and be their family's sole breadwinner. Whatever the reason, job flexibility is key. Options like telecommuting and flexible hours and part-time work can help people remain in the workforce. Some employers offer and embrace these types of arrangements. Others don't. It doesn't hurt to ask and to keep searching. Looking to the future, flexible work environments are likely to be a growth trend as women seek to blend their work and home lives in a satisfying way rather than just accept an either-or scenario. And more employers realize that job flexibility can benefit all employees, not just female employees with children, creating a very loyal, dedicated workforce. I know I love having the flexibility to take the kids to school and pick them up a few days every week. I want to mention one final point here. For women who are juggling children and work, beware the burnout factor that can result from having very full days and prioritizing everyone's needs over your own. For many women, maybe this is obvious. For many women, working outside the home with young children is one of the hardest, busiest times of their lives. In those moments when you're at your wit's end, take a breath and take a moment. Doing it all isn't easy for anyone, and you're providing financially for your family and doing the best you can. It really is enough. And remember to put yourself first once in a while. Taking care of your own personal needs and interests will put you in a better position to take care of the people that need you and your financial life as well. Now, step number 4, plan for retirement. This is such a critical planning item step for women. Unfortunately, women tend to have lower retirement plan balances across the board, lower Social Security benefits, and lower pension benefits. The number one thing women can do is start saving now. They've got a bigger gap between the need and the guaranteed incomes. The table here shows how $2,000, $5,000, or $10,000 invested every year might grow over time, earning a simple 6% rate of return. As you can see, the sweet spot to start saving is when you're in your 20s. But starting in your 30s and 40s isn't too shabby either. The important lesson to take away here is that the earlier you start saving, the better. And in addition to starting to save early, it's really important to get in the habit of saving as much as you can, no matter what. Even if you're staying at home to raise your family, you can and should save for retirement. Whenever a new potential client comes into my office, I ask her who she wants me to advocate for. The person she is today, or the person she's going to be 20 or 30 years from now. Think of saving for retirement as putting yourself first. and just get rid of excuses like I'm too busy to plan, my husband's going to take care of this, I'll save more once our children are through college, I don't know enough about investing. Your retirement savings have to be a priority because retirement is the final trade-off. And if you don't think about it early, it's not going to be what you want it to be. If your employer offers a retirement savings plan like a 401k or a 403b plan, start contributing as much as you can. Having your contributions deducted directly from your paycheck can make it much, much easier to sock away much more money relative to trying to do it with what you have left over at the end of the month. It's going to be hard initially because you're going to get a smaller paycheck, but paying yourself first is going to ultimately benefit you in that long run. And your future self is going to thank you. And to boot, many employers are going to match a portion of the amount you contribute. If you're already contributing the maximum amount to your employer-sponsored retirement plan and you need additional options, or if your employer simply doesn't have a retirement plan, consider an IRA, whether it's traditional, Roth, or if you're not working, if it's a spousal IRA. These can all be used to save for retirement, and they all offer some kind of tax advantages. Set a savings goal that you can work towards. Keep track of your progress. Monitor your investments. Make changes as needed. And don't forget to rebalance within those retirement programs as well. All right, let's look at Social Security. Social Security is the major source of guaranteed lifetime retirement income for most Americans. Guaranteed means that once you start taking monthly Social Security retirement benefits, you will get that money every month for as long as you live. Now, every year, the trustees of Social Security publish a report on the solvency of the program, where they note that in its current form, Social Security won't be able to pay out the benefits in the future that people expect. So, does this mean that Social Security is going to disappear entirely? No. Does it mean that some changes are likely to, at some point in the future, affect your Social Security income? Probably. Whatever changes happen is anyone's guess. It's probably going to be a combination of higher FICA tax collection on people who are still working and moderately reduced benefits for some portion of the population, probably those that need it least. All we can do is plan based on what we know today. So let's look at Social Security in a bit more detail, remembering that for some women, Social Security makes up most, if not all, of the income they have in their later years. We don't want this to be you. Ever since 1940, when a legal secretary named Ida Mae Fuller received the first Social Security retirement check, women have been counting on Social Security to provide much-needed retirement income. Social Security also provides disability and survivor's benefits, but today we're just going to talk about those benefits that are focused on retirement. To qualify for Social Security retirement benefits, you have to work in a job that's covered by Social Security, and you generally need to have earned 40 credits, which is 40 quarters of work, which is about 10 years. If you haven't worked long enough to qualify on your own, you may qualify for spousal benefits based on your partner's work record. A spousal benefit is generally equal to 50% of the primary earner's benefit. So if your partner has a $2,000 Social Security benefit and you don't qualify, you might have access to a $1,000 Social Security benefit. So let's take a quick look at what you might expect from Social Security. The amount you're going to receive from Social Security is based on the number of years you've worked and the amount you've earned. Your benefit is calculated using a formula that takes into account your 35 highest earning years. If you earn little or nothing in several of those years, it may be to your advantage to work as long as possible because you may have the opportunity to replace a year of lower earnings with a year of higher earnings, potentially resulting in a higher retirement benefit. Now, you can get an estimate of what your monthly Social Security retirement benefit will be in the future, by visiting the Social Security website and using your retirement estimator tool or viewing your personalized Social Security statement online. Your statement contains a detailed record of your earnings, as well as estimates of retirement, survivors, and disability benefits. If you haven't registered online to view your statement, you'll receive one in the mail every 5 years anyways, from age 25 to 60, and then every year in the mail after you turn 60. The age at which you start claiming benefits are going to have a big effect on the total amount you receive. You can choose to start taking retirement benefits as early as age 62, but if you do so, your monthly benefit will be 25 to 30% less than if you'd waited until your full retirement age, which is probably 66 or 67, depending on the year you were born. On the other hand, you'll get a much higher monthly benefit if you delay claiming Social Security until the age 70. If you do this, your monthly benefit is going to increase 8% for every year you wait to take those benefits. This chart illustrates what a hypothetical person might get by taking Social Security benefits at different ages. It's based on a full retirement age of 66 and a benefit of $1,800 per month. As you can see, if you start taking benefits at age 62, you're only going to get $1,350. But if you wait until age 70, you're going to get $2,376 every month, almost $1,000 more. Remember, this monthly benefit is guaranteed every month for as long as you live. So an important question as you approach your 60s is, should you begin taking Social Security benefits early at age 62 and receive smaller payments, but possibly receive them over a longer period of time, or should you wait until your full retirement age or later and start taking benefits and receive larger benefits over a shorter period of time? There is no right answer here. It's an individual decision that must be based on many factors, such as what are your other sources of retirement income? What's your life expectancy, which in the end is, it's anyone's guess. What's your marital status? Whether you plan to continue working after you take benefits, and what's your tax picture? A financial professional is really good actually at helping you evaluate these factors. As a woman, you should pay close attention to how much retirement income Social Security will provide. And just in general, I like to postpone as long as I can. Finally, as you approach and then enter retirement, there's some things that you're going to need to think about, such as when you'll retire. Remember when we said that retirement is the final trade-off? The date you choose is really important. You're going to need to know what your retirement expenses will be, and keep in mind that over a multi-decade retirement, inflation is the biggest risk. To make sure it lasts, your income lasts, make sure your expenses and outstanding debt obligations are modest in the beginning. You're going to need to know your bailout plan, how you plan to deal with a shortfall if your retirement reserves aren't sufficient. You're going to need to know your healthcare expenses. Many people underestimate the amount they're going to need to spend on healthcare in retirement. Even though Medicare covers most Americans starting at age 65, it doesn't cover every healthcare need. And don't plan for your grandparents' retirement. Longevity and inflation over an extended lifespan are huge issues. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, not only do women have longer life expectancies than men, but women also make up the majority of older Americans living in poverty, and women overwhelmingly outnumber men in skilled nursing facilities after the age 65. Many people mistakenly believe that Medicare is going to cover their long-term care needs, but the fact is that Medicare only covers skilled nursing for a very short period of time. It doesn't cover ongoing custodial care. So you're going to need to plan for longevity. Finally, you'll need to understand your retirement plan distribution options, the best order to tap your retirement accounts, and what a safe withdrawal rate is on the big picture of your assets so you don't outlive your money. As you can see, there's a lot to think about as you lead up to and step into retirement. But that's all the time we're going to spend on it. We're going to move on now and talk about Step 5. How do you protect your income and assets? So many people, men and women, often overlook the need to do this. So the question is, how do you protect your income and assets from risk? Well, with insurance. Insurance transfers the risk from you and your family to an insurance company. I'm just going to list a few of the types of insurance you should consider. Life insurance. Life insurance provides funds for your loved ones when you die. And yet, many people who should have life insurance, for example, they have young children, don't. I didn't for a long time until my wife went and told her father that I said at one point that she's going to be okay if anything happened to me because he was a great backup. That didn't turn out well, and now Kate has insurance to protect her in case something happens to me. Now, if you're single, married, employed, or a stay-at-home parent, Your family may benefit from life insurance. Think about it. If you should die prematurely, would your family be able to maintain the same lifestyle they have now? Life insurance can provide proceeds that can be used to replace your lost income or financial support to replace the work you do at home from outside the home. At the very least, it can help pay for funeral costs and outstanding debts and tax obligations that might otherwise be the responsibility of your family members. Life insurance can also play a key role for women business owners. Disability insurance. Disability insurance protects your income if you're unable to work for an extended period of time. Becoming disabled is a far greater risk than people think. If you were to suffer disabling injuries tomorrow in a car accident, say, would you and your loved ones be able to survive without your income? A typical policy will replace 50 to 70% of your income. And we all know about home and auto insurance. Most people are required to have this insurance by their lender or sometimes even by state law. Along with protecting your property from damage, both home and auto insurance cover you for the liability claims that result from accidents or injuries that are caused by you or your property. If you have significant assets, you should probably consider an umbrella liability policy as well, which provides an extra layer of liability coverage above and beyond that provided by your home and auto insurance. Health insurance. Obviously, it's mandatory now, but even if it wasn't, health insurance is critical to safeguard your assets from the high cost of health care, both routine and unexpected, but especially unexpected. And then a biggie is long-term care insurance. As we age, our needs for long-term care increase. Long-term care insurance pays a certain dollar amount every day for a set period of time for the type of long-term care described in the policy. Depending on the benefits selected, care can be provided in a variety of settings. Sometimes your home, sometimes in assisted living facilities, sometimes in a nursing home as we age. The best time to purchase long-term care insurance is when you are healthy enough to qualify for it. Finally, there's some instances where insurance alone might not provide all the protection you need, and other strategies may be useful, such as trusts. If you have significant assets, a trust can help shield your assets from creditors, lawsuits, and other threats. If you have business entities, many professionals such as doctors, lawyers, and accountants face liability for damages that result from the performance of their professional duties. For added protection, forming a limited liability partnership or professional corporation often makes a lot of sense. The bottom line in all of this is that if you haven't developed and implemented an asset protection plan, your wealth and your assets are vulnerable to normal risks that are part of everyday life. We want to set things in place to avoid this as much as possible, or at least think about it to see if there's things we can do. Last but not least, number 6, we want to create a legacy and estate plan. Now, the words estate plan sometimes sound a bit intimidating, but an estate plan is simply a map that reflects the way you want your personal and financial affairs to be handled in the case of your incapacity or death. It allows you to control what happens to you and your property, or simply specify who you want to control them for you when you're not here and can't control them for yourself. For example, do you want to leave a legacy for your children, or maybe your grandchildren? Do you want to donate a portion of your assets to charity? Do you want to ensure that your good friend gets your antique coffee table? Have you thought about what type of medical intervention you'd want after an accident in the event you couldn't speak for yourself? By putting an estate plan in place now, while you still have the mental capacity to do so, not only will you have to say in what happens to you and your property, but you'll also make it easier for your loved ones to cope if something unexpected should happen to you. Because your family members will know your express wishes, but keep in mind if you're married, your partner might not be there to know your wishes or act on your behalf. So here's a few things you can do to start this plan. Let's look first at incapacity. Incapacity means being unable to make your own decisions. It's probably obvious that the risk of incapacity increases with age. Here are some of the most common documents that can help you in the event you're unable to make your own decisions. First, living will. Living will is a document that lists the types of medical treatment you would want or not want under particular circumstances. Your healthcare proxy. A healthcare proxy, sometimes called a durable power of attorney for healthcare, lets one or more family members or other trusted individuals make medical decisions for you when you're unable to do so yourself. This is even more important in California and other places where right to die legislation has become a reality. A DNR, or Do Not Resuscitate Order. This is a form signed by both you and your doctor that gives hospital staff permission not to resuscitate you. Together, these three documents are sometimes referred to as healthcare directives. You're also going to need a power of attorney. A durable power of attorney lets you name family members or someone else, trusted individual, who can make financial decisions or transact business on your behalf. And you may want to have a living trust drawn up. A living trust, sometimes called an inter vivos trust, is a document that allows you to manage your trust assets while you're alive and capable, but that names a successor trustee to step into your shoes and take over management of trust assets if you become incapacitated. It can be especially useful in cases where there are privacy needs or complex assets. All of these documents should be drafted by an attorney who specializes in estate planning. Now, I want to spend a moment talking about planning for death. This is a topic I understand no one wants to think about. It's very difficult to plan for. It's very difficult even to talk about it, but we're going to spend a minute on it anyways. So, what sort of plan or tools should you consider looking at? First, you're going to need a will. Your will is typically the cornerstone of your estate plan. It is a legal document that directs how your property is to be distributed at your death. In it, you can name an executor. The executor is there to carry out your wishes as specified in the will, and you can name a guardian if you have minor children. Most wills have to be filed in the local probate court, and they become part of the public record. Your will may establish a testamentary trust. A testamentary trust is a legal arrangement that allows you to provide various interests to different beneficiaries. For example, the trust might provide income to your children for life, with the remainder going to your grandchildren or to charity. Unlike your will, a testamentary trust is not part of the public record. An attorney should draft your will and your trust. But what happens if you die without a will? Well, if you die without a will, your property is going to pass according to state law. These are called intestacy laws. They're different from state to state. However, whether you have a will or not, some property will pass automatically to another person. For example, any property that you own jointly with what's called the rights of survivorship are going to pass. Your house, maybe you own with your partner with the rights of survivorship, and so it will pass directly to that other joint owner or owners. Even if you have a will, jointly owned property will still pass automatically, that is, outside your will, to the other owner of that property. Also, property that has a designated beneficiary. Most IRAs and 401k plans and life insurance policies will pass directly to the named beneficiary outside your will. It's a good idea to review your beneficiary designations from time to make sure that they reflect your current wishes. People do change their mind in terms of who they want to receive their assets after them. Finally, property held in a trust will pass according to the terms set out in the trust and not through your will. If you have significant assets, more advanced estate planning may be necessary. This includes tax planning, specifically for the income tax basis of your property, and along with planning for any gift tax, estate tax, and generation skipping tax that may apply to transfers of your property. I mentioned earlier the need to expect the unexpected, and just for a moment, I want to talk about some possible, though unlikely and unexpected obstacles. My mother used to tell me that more regularly than I thought was necessary, that life isn't always fair or easy. Things happen. That's what we're talking about here. Employees are let go. Children come along before we're ready. Couples get divorces. Illnesses spring up. Adult children need financial help. Our parents need help. Spouses pass away. When you take steps to strengthen your financial future, not only will you be in a better position to enjoy life in the good times, but you're also going to be in a much better position to cope during the not so good times, which we are all likely to face at some point. In fact, it's often during these stressful times that people who have done no planning get into the most trouble. But you don't have to wait until you're in a tough situation. A trusted financial professional can help you both during the bad times and the good. We are all busy working, caring for our families, taking care of all the household responsibilities. Often there aren't enough hours in the day to do grocery shopping and get a haircut, much less research investment options and buy life insurance policy or consider a living will. When life gets more complex, a financial professional can really help. If you're unsure about hiring a person to help you with your finances, think of it this way. You hire people to do things like cut your hair, work on your car, and tend to your medical issues. So it might make sense to do the same thing when dealing with important financial matters. A financial professional can help you see the big picture, help you consider which of your goals are really worth having, create a financial plan based on your individual circumstances and those milestones you're reaching for, and educate you around the different decisions from investment strategies to spending plans to safe withdrawal rates. They can help you balance your short and long-term needs. A financial professional can also monitor your plan and adapt it as your life changes. They can keep you up to date with new legislation and changes in tax law. And they should be available to answer any question you have along the way. Of course, it's still really important to keep yourself educated on financial topics and make the ultimate decisions that affect your financial health. And there are people to turn to when you need help as well. It's fine to do it yourself, but if you do, recognize when you need help and seek it out. In the end, it's all about you. It's your goals, your dreams. What financial course will you chart? By taking the time now to consider and plan for your financial future, you gain peace of mind knowing that you're doing all you can to provide for yourself and your family, both yourself today and yourself in 20 or 30 years. And in our busy, full, exciting lives, I'm guessing we could all use a little bit more peace of mind. Always remember, it's not what markets or economies do that makes you successful. It's what you do that counts. So start now, take control of your money, become a more knowledgeable investor, advocate for yourself in the workplace, remember to plan for retirement, plan for it early, protect your income and assets, and create an estate and legacy plan. It's always and everywhere in your power to change the path of your financial life, but only if you start today. Thank you for attending the third in our real-life series, Women and Money. Our Mindful Money Investing 3-part video is available in the Mindful Money Toolbox. Now, when we finish editing this series, it's going to be up there as well. You can buy each webinar one at a time for $10, or we've recently launched our Engaged membership, where for $20 a month, you're going to receive an expanded newsletter, including a plan for scheduling your personal financial maintenance and access to all of our webinar videos and educational tools. So check it out. Let us know what you think. And as always, if you think this content's valuable, please help me spread the word. Follow us on Twitter, tweet about us, like us on Facebook, and post some of our events. Become an Engaged member if you'd like. Reach out and tell someone to subscribe. Help someone else educate themselves and get started on getting ahead. Thanks again for spending so much time with us today. And as always, I wish you way more than luck. Please take one more look at the disclosure. This is general information and education only. It's not intended to provide specific recommendations for anyone. If you have questions, ask them. We want to answer them. And if you'll bear with me just a moment, I'm going to change things back and get the video camera turned on. Hold on a second. I'm going to do this now.